Thanks for tuning in to another video. So is the original Galaxy Watch Ultra still worth it in 2026? My opinion is definitely yes. But there are a few things you probably should know and you probably want to know before you are buying it. In this video, I will tell you exactly who should buy the original Ultra, who should probably spend more for the Ultra 2, and at the end of the video, I think you'll have all the information you need to make the right decision for you. I'll also talk about the Watch Ultra 2025, but that was just a very minor update. So why am I even talking about the original Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra? Well, it launched as Samsung's premium flagship only 2 years ago. And Samsung just released the Ultra 2, so I figured it'd probably be a good idea to visit the original Ultra and see if it's worth it. Because the Ultra 2 was released in the United States for $700, so you might want to be thinking about some cheaper alternatives. And as I usually tell you on my channel, frequently when a new watch comes out, the older ones get less expensive and they become much better values because nowadays the tech improvements are really kind of minimal year to year. So the biggest question is not if the Ultra watch is any good, the biggest question is it good enough compared to the Ultra 2 to justify you saving some money? So this is where things get interesting because despite being 2 years old, the original Ultra still has a surprising amount in common with Samsung's newest Ultra 2, and that is a 2-year difference. Kind of odd. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things that you get with the Ultra, just so I refresh your memory a little bit and you make sure this watch is for you. So let's talk about the build and design first. You do get premium build quality on this. This is made out of titanium. You do get that rugged look and design. You do get the 3 buttons on the side here, which is like an improvement over the Watch 9 and Watch 8 and 7 and all the other ones. You do get the 47mm size case on here, so you do have to like bigger watches. But this is the same exact size as the Watch Ultra 2, so you're not going to get any difference there. But the Ultra 2 is a little thinner. But again, not that significant. You're going to get sapphire crystal covering on the front here. You get 10 atmospheres of water resistance and IP68. So again, premium build quality here. And as I said before, you got these 3 buttons over here, and this button in the middle will give you that emergency siren, which I think is a very underrated feature. I think Samsung should probably hype it up just a little bit more. I think it's a very important safety feature. And I wanted to give this to my daughter, and I know what you're thinking. Paul, you have kids with those hands? I know, but let me continue here. It was just way too big for her. Even when I changed the band and made it really tiny, it was still comically big on her wrist. So I have a 7.5-inch wrist just to show you what that looks like. And does this watch face bring back the Watch 5 Pro? That was probably one of my favorite watches. But let's keep moving here. Now the other thing to keep in mind is that the Ultra only comes in the one size, and that goes for all the Ultra models. There's no smaller version of this, so either like it or you don't. Also keep in mind that LTE is included on this. And that means you can make and take phone calls, getting messages and download music and all that stuff without your phone nearby. It is nice that this is included, but of course if you don't need it, it would have been nice to not include it because then you could have saved a couple of dollars. So in case you were hoping or wondering, there is no rotating crown on here. This button doesn't rotate. That would have been nice if it did, right? The bezel doesn't rotate like on the Watch 8 Classic. Basically, if you wanted to have that feature, it's the digital bezel right here, which, it took me a couple of years, but actually I kind of adjusted to it. And sometimes I kind of miss that on some other watches. But none of the Ultra watches have any kind of rotating bezel. So the original Ultra has proprietary bands, and it is the same bands that you can use for the Watch 2025 and of course the Watch Ultra 2, which is actually nice that Samsung did not change the design to make you buy all new bands. So any of your original bands in the Ultra will work in the Ultra 2 if you are upgrading. And this just snaps in here like this, and it is very easy to use. Now you could buy third-party lugs. This is not one of them. This actually came from Samsung. But you could buy a lug that just kind of looks like this. That snaps in. And then you could have your regular quick release band just snap into this. Even though this Ultra is 2 years old, it doesn't feel old or cheap or anything like that. And you know it's got a great design because the Ultra 2 is essentially the same exact thing. I mean, almost exactly the same, right? There's a couple of little differences. Now, if you're interested in seeing exactly what is different between these two and what was upgraded on the Ultra 2, check out my full comparison video on that, and I'll leave that in the description. But otherwise, let's keep going here. So after build quality, you're concerned about the display. And you do get a 1.5-inch AMOLED display on here, great resolution, and up to 3000 nits of brightness, which is actually very bright. Yes, I know, the Ultra 2 goes up to 5000 nits of brightness. And it does have a slightly larger display. This one is 1.5 inches. The Ultra 2 here is 1.52 inches, but I don't think you could see a difference there, right? Now outside in direct sunlight, I could tell that the Ultra 2 is brighter than the original Ultra, but the Ultra is very easy to see outside. I had no issues with it. And I have plenty of smartwatches that have 1,000 or 1,500 nits that are perfectly usable outside with no issues. And very few watches actually go up to the 3,000 nits of the original Samsung Ultra. That was kind of groundbreaking when they did it, and it is still very impressive. So if you feel like your previous smartwatch is a little dim or you're having some issues, the Ultra for the 3,000 nits of brightness will definitely be plenty for you, I think. If you're really concerned, you can go up to the Ultra 2 here, but I really think that the 5,000 nits is probably overkill and really not needed. Now, another concern when you are buying an older watch, is the processor going to keep up with it? Is it any lags or stutters or anything like that? And I gotta tell you, absolutely not. The Ultra I have no issues with it at all. It does have the Exynos W1000 processor, and the Ultra 2 does have a better processor. But again, I had no issues on the original Ultra here. It does come with 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is the same as the Ultra 2, and it does have 32 gigabytes of memory, which should be fine for most people. But if you do like to put a lot of apps and maps to your watch, and you like to download a lot of music to the watch, it could be an issue. But in that case, you still don't need to buy the Watch Ultra 2 and pay all that extra money. You can go for the Watch Ultra 2025. And the only upgrade from the original Watch Ultra is that the storage went from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes on the Watch Ultra 2025, and Samsung added a color. So if you can get the Watch Ultra or the Watch Ultra 2025 for a discount, I think they will compare pretty favorably to the Watch Ultra 2. Again, depending on the prices, and I'll go into that in a minute. And the Watch Ultra here does get the updated Gemini, so no issues with that. So just speaking about the processor, the Watch Ultra 2 definitely has a newer and better processor, and it will be able to handle more AI features in the future, and it will be able to do more on-watch processing, which might be important for like GPS data and, the Gemini responses and things like that. But the original Ultra is still very smooth, and I had no issues with it at all. But the Watch Ultra 2, like I said, will be more future-proof because of that new processor. So if you are looking to keep the watch for many years, then maybe you want to lean towards the Ultra 2 and just see if that is in your budget. And I've had this for 2 years, since it was released, and I had no glitches or issues or lags or anything like that during the whole time I've been using it. I know what you're thinking. Paul, am I stuck with the old software on this watch? What is the software update situation? Well, the good news is that Samsung is the best in the business right now, with 4 years of major Wear OS updates promised and 1 year of security updates after that. So that's 5 total years. This watch was released in 2024, so you are still fully covered for another 3 years. That's pretty impressive. But what happens after that? Well, the watch will continue to work even after the software support ends, and Samsung might even extend it just a little bit, but assuming they don't, and you're not going to receive any security patches for any newly discovered vulnerabilities. Using the watch past this point, the risk is still likely very low for basic use, but over time the risk will increase, and especially if you have a lot of third-party apps on here, you use Wi-Fi a lot, mobile payments, or if you have a lot of sensitive data on the watch, then you might want to start getting a little concerned. But if you got the Watch Ultra now, again, you still have several years of quality use of this watch without concern. And then you could trade it into Samsung for a better watch, hopefully. Now, it's too early to tell for sure, but many and likely most of the new features that you get on the Watch Ultra 2, most of them should come to the Watch Ultra. Okay, so let's talk about some of the fitness features that are available on the Watch Ultra, and there is, again, a lot of overlap between the Ultra and the Ultra 2. And first thing I just wanted to point out, this is the Samsung Health app, and I have my original Ultra connected to this. And you can see here, Trail Run is now available. All you need to do is buy this $700 watch, and we'll give you 10% off, but then you can get the Trail Run feature. That's just very dishonest, I think, right? Okay, let's keep moving. So you're going to get all your vitals in here. You're going to get your heart rate monitoring, your blood oxygen, your stress monitoring, HRV. You're going to get your skin temperature sensor. You're going to get your sleep tracking. I didn't wear this watch last night. Let me just show you an example of what you get here. And again, this is on the Ultra. So you got all your data and everything like that, so very detailed here. And the Watch Ultra will detect sleep apnea, but it does not monitor it. And that's the same exact limitation that the Ultra 2 has, so no improvement there. You're not missing out on anything. And again, original Ultra here, so you don't get any kind of monitoring for it, but you still get the blood pressure. And this wasn't on the Ultra when it was first released, so that's really nice, right? And you have your ECG in here. This you have to do manually, and again, same limitation on the Ultra 2, but you also do get irregular heart rhythm notification, and that runs in the background that you can turn on. And this way you don't have to do anything, and it'll just let you know if there's any issues. Again, same exact features as the Ultra 2. So you're going to get body composition on the Watch Ultra. You're going to get an Aegis index, which just gives you insight into your metabolic health. You're going to get vascular load, an energy score, dual band GPS. You're going to get GPX support on here, and you're going to get a lot of very advanced features, which are basically the same as the Ultra 2. Okay, I just cut that off. You didn't need to see all my terrible stats. So what do you get if you upgrade to the Ultra 2? You're going to get that trail running exercise, which is supposedly going to give you better GPS and better elevation data and quicker data that might be important if you are actually trail running. You're going to get real-time hydration prompts based on your calculated sweat loss while working out, which may not come to the Watch Ultra. We'll see on that. But this is only available for 4 sports right now, and they are running, hiking, trail run, and treadmill. And I know we're in the fitness and health section here, but we are talking about some differences and what we're going to miss out on if you get the Ultra. So there's a couple extra things you can do on the Ultra 2. I'll just cover them quick right now, but again, check out my full comparison video if you want a lot more details into this. And I create reviews, comparisons, and detailed how-to videos, mostly covering smartwatches, but I also do other tech that I think you'll find interesting. So if that sounds like something you'd like to see, please consider subscribing and turning on your notifications. So if you do get the Ultra 2, you do get the Raise to Talk to activate Gemini, and basically that just means you raise your wrist a little bit to turn it on, but then you keep going and raise it to your mouth, and then Gemini will automatically turn on, so this way you don't have to use any wake words to access it. That was a gesture that was originally available on the Pixel watches, but now it came to the Samsung. And that may not come to the original Ultra. Again, supposedly it needs the updated processing power of the Watch 2 to be able to do this, but we'll see. The Ultra 2 will also measure your surrounding noise in your environment, and I'm not sure how popular of a feature this is, but if you definitely need it, I would probably wait a little bit and see if that feature does come to the original Ultra, because it very well might. I had several budget watches that had that feature, so I don't think you need the extra processing power, but again, I'd probably wait and see if it comes to the Ultra, and if it doesn't after a few months, then maybe you could decide if you want to go up to the Ultra 2 or not. Okay, now we're up to battery life, and this is a big one that everyone is talking about when comparing these two watches. So the Ultra 2 does get a big battery jump. You had a 590 on the original, and we go all the way up to 800 milliamp hours on the Ultra 2. Now, in my testing on the original Ultra, I got 2 to 2+ days of use on a regular basis. Now, be mindful, if you do buy a used or refurbished original Ultra, well, a 2-year-old battery will not work as long as a brand new one, obviously. But on the Ultra 2, and it's still kind of new here, but I'm getting just barely 3 days. So, at the end of the 3rd day, if I use it heavy, I might be out of juice and I just have a dead watch. So if you don't want to be wearing a dead watch, then you're probably going to wind up charging both of these watches every other night, I would think. So even though there's a big jump in the actual battery size, the battery life a little bit better than the Ultra 2, but I don't think it's worth upgrading to the new watch just for the extra battery life, because it's not going to be a mind-blowing difference. Now, the biggest reason to buy the original Ultra is likely the discounted price. The Ultra 2 is a great watch, as you can see over here, it's on the right, and it does have some hardware and software improvements, as I told you throughout the video here, but it is not a big jump. And especially if you don't need those extra features, then it's kind of a no-brainer to get the original Ultra. I think the original Ultra holds up surprisingly well, honestly. I mean, this is a 2-year difference here, and I mean, they're basically identical. And I think the original Ultra is probably going to give you a better value, but of course that does depend on the price, which I'll get more into in just a minute. So the original Ultra was released in the United States for $650. The Ultra 2025, which was released a year ago, was also $650, so no change there, but again, very little updates there. But the Ultra 2, they did raise $50 to $700, and that's starting to get a little expensive, right? Now remember, the only difference between the original Ultra and the 2025 Ultra is the extra color and going from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes. That would also be a great value if you can get that at a discount. Okay, so here is my conclusion, and you can let me know what you think in the comments. If it was me and I was buying this as my only watch, I would definitely get the Ultra, honestly, or the Ultra 2025, if I can get it for a 20 to 25% discount. And that would probably leave it in like the $500 price range in the United States. Now, if the prices are not that different, then you can go for the Ultra 2, if you're willing to spend that extra money. And again, the Ultra 2 is a great watch. It does have a few extra features over the Ultra, and it is more future-proof. And I think you would still love it. It's just, again, very expensive. So who should buy the original Ultra? Well, I think you should buy the original Ultra if you want to save money, you like the premium and rugged design, and you like the bigger frame, and you don't need the absolute brightest display. You also don't need the newest processor, or you're not impressed with the new features of the Ultra 2. Battery life on the original Ultra is good enough, I think. So if you are coming from a Watch 7 or Watch 8 or Watch 9, the battery life will be better than those. So if those were good enough for you, this will only be better for you. Again, you're also going to get the LTE built into this, so that is nice. Now, some people just like to have the latest and greatest tech, but if you don't really care about the newest model, this one still looks like the Ultra 2, so no issues there, I don't think. The other big factor of who should buy the original is you have to get a good discount on it. I definitely wouldn't pay full price on this or anywhere, close to full price. So make sure it's a pretty healthy discount before you buy these. So who should buy the Ultra 2? Well, if you want the latest and greatest Samsung smartwatch available and you are planning on keeping it for many years, then you might want to consider getting the Ultra 2. And if you're willing to pay extra for that, mildly increased battery life, well, then the Ultra 2 is for you. If you need that 5000 nit of display, or you've had problems with previous watches, that might be something to consider. And again, if you want a more future-proof watch with the latest processor that will be able to handle, the AI updates that will be coming soon and the computation that's needed on the watch, then again, the Ultra 2 is for you. The Ultra 2 has the same body frame here and mostly the same design, but it is slightly thinner than the original Ultra. I mean, you really can't see much of a difference there, but the Ultra 2 is slightly thinner. If you need the additional storage, well, the Ultra 2 might be for you, but also keep in mind you can get the Samsung Ultra 2025, and that will give you the same amount of storage as the Ultra 2 and will hopefully be cheaper. Well, another reason to get the Ultra 2 is if the price difference isn't that significant where you live. That's possible. Or if you don't want to wait for a bigger discount to come to the original Ultra or the Ultra 2025. And again, if it's in your budget, the Ultra 2 is a great watch. So is the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra still worth buying in 2026 and likely 2027? I think yes, but the price is everything on here, so you would need to get a pretty good discount on this. The Galaxy Watch 2 here is a better watch. It does have a brighter display, better resolution, a larger battery, a slightly bigger display actually, newer hardware, more storage, and a few extra software features that might come to the Ultra. But the original Ultra is still a premium smartwatch. It has the titanium case, the sapphire crystal, it has LTE, an excellent AMOLED display, comprehensive health and fitness tracking that pretty much match the Ultra 2 for the most part, and plenty of performance for everyday use. And both watches are backed by Samsung's great software update commitment. So what do you think? Which one are you planning to buy and why? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you're trying to decide between these two, again, check out my full comparison video. And I also do have a lot of tips and tricks videos on the Samsung watches, so check out my channel if you are interested in that. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.